Welcome back to my second part of the Diamond Fire coding series, I guess. I don't know. Maybe a series. Today we'll look at some more conditionals and brush on the topic of variables. We won't get too deep into them. We'll also work on some functions, but uh, not really as the main use of functions. So, to start out the video, let's get a right click event down and let's give them an item. Any item, whatever you want. I'll just do a um let's do a sword. I did swords the last time. Let's be creative. Slash I name. Just go gun. It doesn't need the quotes. I just chose to do that. Here, you see how it's italicized, right? Yeah. To get rid of the automatic italicy, do a and ampersand F before it, or you can do any other color code. You can see them all here. Page 2, 3, and even 4 of the reference book, which is typically at the top right of your inventory when in code mode. But I'm just going to do the basic and F. You can do whatever you want, though. Just like this. Just like this. Right there. Not italicized anymore. However, if you want it to be italicized, you can go ahead and do that too. Let's place an if player is holding, that's a conditional. But we're going to do something special now, something we didn't do last time. Let's put an if player, item condition, item is not on cooldown. Let's put the item in there. Now, after that, let's do player action, item management, set item cooldown, and ticks. Let's do a 5-tick wait, but if you want, you can do more or less. Remember, slime ball in the values is that. And now, to make sure it works, let's do world this. I said this. World launch projectile, just like last time. Let's do an arrow, but you can do any type of arrow, even a fireball or a witherhead if you want. Look, see, it has a bit of a wait time. It's not that much, but you can see it kind of flying down. Remember, one tick is 1/20th of a second. So, what you're really saying is every quarter of a second, they can fire the weapon named gun again to fire an arrow. Of course, it's not a real gun, but whatever. To make it a little bit cooler, let's do a communication and then play a sound. To do that, go to the values, get a sound effect. Now, you can play any sound effect, but, let's do an tonum use chorus fruit now. You can test the sound by right-clicking your mouse over it. No, I don't want any of those. Let's do that one. Yeah, that sounds good. Just like this. You can do any sound you want, though. It doesn't really matter. Now, as I said, we're going to be working on functions and variables. Let's start with the function. It seems a little more important. Place a function, name it anything you want. Just don't have it start with something like this. Sorry about that. You can name it function1, but you don't have to. Now, something like this would be done to continue code after it reaches the end of the code space. You might wonder, what do you do after you get so many events and functions that it does this? Well, what you'd want to do is type /plot code space, and you can do -L or -C. -C will make them compact. And code space is just a full glass thing. Let me show you what I mean. I like lines, so that's what I'm gonna put. Not compact, but whatever. Like this. These are lines. However, if you didn't put -L, you would get it completely filled in, where there would be no gap inside of it. Now, that's just to tell you that, but remember, what are we doing with this call function? Get the full lapis block instead of the lapis ore block, and place that down. Now, while holding the same text, remember I got there, boom. Now, let's just prove that it works by putting a communication message. This function happened. And I have to right click for it to happen. See? It happened. Every time I right click. Even when the arrow doesn't fire, because it's not inside of those pistons that I put down. See? Remember. The pistons show where the conditional ends. So if you did want it to be inside of there, you can do this. Function 1 inside of there, and now it'll only happen when the arrow fires. Or you can do it as long as they're holding the weapon named gun, just like that. So now it'll happen anytime they are holding the gun, even if it's not off of cooldown. So I'm right clicking the ground, nothing's happening, but now it's firing. Well, now the function's happening now that I'm holding the item. So that's a basic thing on functions. Usually it'll be code you use a lot, so you'll just use a function to make it easier. You may notice it's actually quite different from how it's used in other languages. That's because there's no specific files like name.lua. So local variables, as they are called in other languages, are kept in the functions. Therefore, you don't actually have to put a variable into the function. I know I didn't actually explain that well, but let me retry. You don't have to put a value into the function, right? That because it's already the function can already access the variable. That's why. Those variables can already be accessed. Therefore, you don't need to put the variable into the function for it to be used later in it. There, I explained it not too poorly. You know, I don't think it's exactly that easy to explain. But now, talking about variables, let's actually work with some variables a little bit, right? So a variable, for people who don't know, are values contained in data. They're data values that are saved for later use. Like words or numbers or sounds, anything in here can be put as a variable. Like, let's do this. Increment. Let's just do clicked times. Now I went into numerical and increment. Let's increment it by 1. And then let's print it, the value of it. It is case sensitive, by the way. See? It goes by increasing. It increases. Now, one thing you may want to know is that there are 3 different. Now, let's not talk about that first. Let's talk about this. Do per, what's there are these identifiers, targets. Sorry, and like percent default, percent damager. That's the person who damaged, who's causing the damage, the person who activated the kill or the shooter. The selection UUID. Um, you would want to put that in front of the variable to say whose it is, right? Like percent default var, right? I put it not to print it anymore. Let's continue printing it. Now it's going up. And if you do /plot vars to check the variables on your plot, it says crotoplague var 6. Var being the name of the variable that I put, and percent default being my username. So of course it goes up, but so if someone else were to be on this plot, nobody is, the plot's whitelisted, but if someone else were to be on it, when they activated it, it wouldn't increase my variable by 1. Their variable would be 1. Let's say their name was frog. It would say frog var 1 if they activate it once, or 2. It wouldn't increase mine. That it only gets increased when I right click. If you didn't want that to be the case, you could just do var, and then it won't just happen for one person. It'll be shared among all people on the plot. Persistent data, as people call it, you shift and right click. Hold on. And it says this variable has the save tag and will now be saved. Let's increase it by 1, and now I right click. Boom. 8, that's when I leave. I join back. 9, it saves. Even when you're in this, you can still check. It has the little save tag in front of it. You can get rid of that by doing /plot var purge. And now no variables are on the plot anymore. As you can see, nothing was printed to me. Now, this is the most confusing one. It's called local. It only will be saved to one event, and then it will be purged once the event ends. See, it's only 1 because it's purged every time that every time that the code reader, or I don't even know how they check it, but every time that whatever checks the code in it reaches here and sees that there's no blocks following it, it's immediately cleared from the data or whatever. Sorry, I don't know exactly how Diamond Fire stuff works. I've never been in like their files or whatever they use. I've done a little Java coding, but I don't know how Diamond Fire works. So, yeah, it's just cleared. Why you may want to do this is code that you only want to be checked at in this one event, and then you won't be using that anymore. You won't be using it anymore. Which would be good for, I don't know, soft coding. I use local variables all the time. It's just good for cleanness in the code. So yeah. Of course, let's let's continue printing it just so you guys can see. You can place an if variable to check a variable, to see if it's near it, the range, like if it's near, hold on, value being, no, let's make it non-local anymore. This, let's make the center 5 and make it check for 2. Well, I didn't actually put anything in it. It'll print is near, alright? If the value is near it in a 2 range. So it should do it when it's equal to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And now it no longer prints it because it is no longer near. You can do if it is equal to 5 or any value. Boom, right when it's 5 it prints it, and no other time. If it is not equal to, if it's greater than or equal to, less than, or equal to. It's very useful. Let's see, what else should I do? One thing that's good to talk about is when using functions, the code in the function happens, and then the code following the function happens. So if you were to put a wait for, I don't know, 90 seconds, let's just put a text. See, it doesn't happen. It's still waiting for that code up there. And then the code following it will happen. Now, I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to force you all to wait that long. But what I will do is put it as ticks. And then in a few seconds, it's going to, see? Yes. Now, if you wanted to bypass that, you can use a process, but we're not going to talk about that. If you want to skip ahead and do all that, be my guest. But I'm going to hold off on talking about processes for a little bit. They're a little more, I wouldn't say complex, but a little more complicated. They have a bunch of, I think you'd call them, maybe not parameters, but like, hold on. They have no, the diamond there. They have a few of these, and they can just get things a little complicated. They're talking about selections and stuff like that. We haven't even touched upon the select object. And although it is very useful, I think that we should get a solid foundation before going to more complex things. So, we've talked about functions and set variables. Let's talk a little more about set variables. Of course, you can select it to any value, set it to any value, including items. Like you could give them a var item. I think I'd put the not arrow in it. Yeah, see, it gives me the not arrow. Because, of course, that's what I assign the value to be. You can purge a var or set it to a random item, random object, like text var or not arrow or a number for a sound. And then you can give them random var. Well, wait. I don't think it likes that. I don't think it likes me putting that. Sorry. I don't think it likes that at all. Which makes sense, but unfortunately, that's how it works. But you could, like, print it as well, and then it'll make sense. Yeah, I didn't think that would work. I was just hoping that you could actually give sound effects, but I guess it doesn't like that. Don't put that, but that, yes, that'll work. There, see, it prints that warp stem arrow. What else did I put in there? 565 warp stem arrow. That's it, right? Yeah, see, it worked. But it only gives me specific ones, of course. Not trying to make things too complicated, just trying to make sure you can actually, like, do stuff with this tutorial instead of just learning random stuff that isn't going to help you. You can add variables, subtract variables, multiply and divide, set to the remainder of something. That'd be good for figuring out if something's odd or even. Like, if you divide by 2 and you, and it has a remainder, it's odd. If you divide and it's not equal to, and it's no remainder, then it is equal. Then it is even, of course. Increment, decrement, simple stuff. You just add a variable to it. Exponent, of course, just in regular math, you multiply it by the original value. Random number, RNG, is used in a lot of things, but like variable, let's do 1, 2, 565, I guess, is already in there. And then let's print it. It will keep doing different values between 1 and 565. It'll never be more than it or less than it. Wait, more than 565 or less than 1. It'll never do that because that's not in between it. Many things in here, you can just check that out, like set to text. There's parse, making a number variable a text variable. Sorry, that took me a little while. Did they move parse? Huh, they might have moved parse, or maybe they made it something else, but I know parse used to be in here. Let's see. Oh, they made parse and set to text, I think, the same thing. Yes, they did. Yeah. Okay. I didn't know that. I don't know. It's not that I use that much. I just got rid of there, but I want to... I think... What else do I want to work on in this? I don't know. I think that's kind of like a fundamental thing on it. Let's see. I think next time... I mean, I did a control. I didn't really explain that much. I just put a wait in it, which is just waiting a specific amount of ticks, seconds, or minutes. Or you can return it to a call function, meaning you'll just skip the rest of a function code. But I don't know, we're not getting big into control functions right now. Not until we talk about repeats first. Well, I said control functions, I mean control blocks. We'll talk about that once we get into repeats, which probably should be happening soon. We didn't talk about else, actually. I think we should talk about that. That just means if whatever they say in this if variable isn't the case, like if variable 1 is not equal to 1, then it'll print something or send message, as they say, like this. It says A, of course, because 1 is equal to 1. Let's see. Next time, we'll get into maybe game values. They're a bit complicated. Start process, maybe, probably not, actually. Maybe, probably not. Definitely, maybe. Maybe we might. I'm not sure. I know I kind of threw a lot at you this time. Um, I don't even know if you'd be able to ask a question, because I think comments are off, but, you know, it's kind of YouTube's own fault. But, yeah, thanks for watching. Uh, hopefully this helped you. Even though it is still kind of basic, but I did throw a lot at you, so, yeah, see you next time.